This weekend, Formula One goes back to Spa, and Ferrari is about to hand Lewis Hamilton the most aggressive car it has built all year, a brand new low-drag package. A rear wing the whole paddock has been arguing about, and one part they have run every single race this season that they are now ready to rip straight off the car. All of it aimed at one thing: finally taking on Mercedes in a straight line through the Ardennes. But there is a catch nobody in the red garage can control. The forecast for Spa keeps saying rain. And if the sky opens over those trees on Sunday, the very upgrade built to win them this race might be the thing they have to leave in the garage. Here is what Ferrari is actually bringing. Two big changes, and they point in the same direction: straight line speed. The first is a new version of the rear wing they call the Macarena, an evolved design that opens up wider when the car is flat out on a straight, bleeding off drag. So the SF26 can finally stretch its legs down the long stretches of Spa. The second is the one that tells you how serious they are. For the first time this entire season, Ferrari is set to remove its blown exhaust flap. That is a part they pioneered, a part half the grid has been trying to copy, and they are taking it off the car on purpose. That single decision is the whole story of Ferrari's weekend in one move. So let us slow down and look at what it really means, because this is where the clever engineering lives. That blown exhaust flap has been one of the secret weapons of the SF26 all year. Here is the trick. The car fires its hot exhaust gases across the lower part of the rear wing, and that flow glues the back of the car to the road through the medium and high-speed corners. It is a huge part of why Ferrari has been so strong in the twisty stuff. Ferrari pioneered it in pre-season testing, and within weeks, half the grid was scrambling to copy the idea. The concept was so effective that the governing body has already decided to ban this style of blown flap from 2027, just to shut the loophole down. But it comes at a price. It creates drag. And Spa is the one place on the calendar where drag is the enemy above everything else. So according to the reports out of Italy, Ferrari technical director Serra has made the call to sacrifice that cornering grip and take the flap off completely. In exchange, the car is said to free up around 7 horsepower and shed the drag that has been holding it back on the straights. And 7 horsepower might not sound like much, but at Spa, it is worth real lap time. This circuit spends longer at full throttle than almost anywhere else, so every extra bit of power keeps paying you back the entire way down those enormous straights. Combine the freed up power with the drag that disappears when the flap comes off, and the top speed gain is far bigger than the raw number suggests. But it carries a real risk too. Strip that rear grip away, and the SF26 could turn nervous exactly where a driver cannot afford it, over the top of Eau Rouge and through the long, committed corners where the car has to feel planted. Ferrari is essentially trading security for speed, and they will not know if the trade paid off until the cars are running at full commitment on Friday, which is why they did their homework early. In a recent practice session, the team put a young reserve driver in the car and used the running to try low downforce ideas with this exact weekend in mind. Everything about their recent Fridays has been quietly pointing at Spa. Now, stack the new Macarena wing on top of all that, and the plan comes into focus. Ferrari is not just trimming a wing angle and hoping for the best. They have built a dedicated low downforce package specifically for tracks like this, one that reports say has already been signed off inside Maranello. And the wing itself is where it gets genuinely fascinating. The Macarena is a flexible rear wing that effectively opens its own gap wider as the car hits high speed on a straight, cutting drag exactly when the car needs to be slippery, then loading back up for the fast corners where the car needs to be planted. The evolution they are bringing to Spa is designed to reduce that drag even further, while still keeping the car stable through the terrifying high-speed stuff like Eau Rouge, Raidillon and Blanchiment. And the reason the whole paddock cares so much is simple. A wing that can shed drag on the straight and then reload for the corners is close to a cheat code at a track like Spa, where the perfect car has to be 2 different cars on the same lap. Fast where the road runs straight, glued down where it does not. Get that balance right, and you have solved the oldest puzzle in Belgian racing. Get it wrong, and you are either slow down the Kemmel Straight or a passenger through the fast corners. Ferrari believes this evolution of the Macarena is its best answer yet. There is real drama in that development race too. The governing body has been circling flexible rear wings all season, taking a much harder look after Max Verstappen suffered rear wing failures that wrecked his recent weekends, pitching him into a heavy crash in qualifying at one race and into the gravel at the next for a costly retirement. Every time one of these clever wings lets go, the questions about how far teams are bending the rules get louder. Ferrari were first to this idea with the Macarena. Red Bull turned up with their own wide-opening version and insisted they had come up with it independently over the winter. McLaren have been developing something similar and are still trying to get it race-ready. Ferrari is walking straight into that spotlight and bringing an even sharper version, confident its own interpretation is completely legal where a rival's design failed. Ferrari lit that fuse months ago. When Red Bull rolled out its own version, some argued it was even more extreme than the original, and the accusations of copying flew in both directions, with Red Bull insisting the idea had been theirs since the winter. That is how valuable this concept is. An entire arms race has grown up around one clever rear wing, and the team that perfects it first walks away with free lap time on every power circuit left on the calendar. And they need every bit of it, because the gap they are trying to close has been painful to watch. Rewind to Austria, and Ferrari was losing something in the region of 20 kilometers per hour to Mercedes down the straights. 20! That is not a setup problem, that is a wall. Because a straight line deficit is the one weakness you cannot hide in a race. It does not just cost you lap time, it leaves you defenseless. A quicker car simply lines you up on the long run to Les Combes and drives past, and there is nothing the person in the cockpit can do about it. All season, that is the trap Ferrari has been stuck in, quick through the corners and then a sitting target on the straights. Then came the upgrade at Silverstone, and the whole picture flipped. Ferrari turned up with a lower downforce setup, carved into that top speed deficit, and the results followed immediately. Charles Leclerc won the British Grand Prix. Hamilton finished on the podium in third. The Spa package is the next swing of the same hammer, and it lands on top of the first upgrade to Ferrari's power unit this season, the ADUO step, which already sharpened how the car deploys and recovers its electrical energy. At a track like Spa, that is close to everything. So much of the lap is spent flat out that running out of battery before the end of a straight can cost a driver several positions in a single corner. Nail the deployment and the car keeps pulling all the way to the braking zone. Miss it, and every straight becomes a slow bleed. Piece by piece, the straight-line weakness that defined Ferrari's season is being chipped away. And this is not happening in a vacuum. The whole reason Ferrari has thrown this much at Spa is that Mercedes has quietly built the benchmark car of the season. And the technical fight between the Mercedes W17 and the Ferrari SF26 has become the defining story of 2026. Mercedes has owned the straights. But Spa is not only about straights. It has always rewarded the complete car over the fastest engine, the machine that can be quick in a straight line and still stable through the flowing middle sector. And Ferrari's chassis has shown strong front-end grip in exactly those corners all year. If this package lets them keep that cornering strength while finally matching Mercedes for speed, the SF26 stops being a car with one glaring weakness and becomes a genuinely complete threat. But here is where the sky comes in, and this is the part that could unravel the entire plan. Everything Ferrari has built for this weekend assumes a dry Spa. The low drag wing, the exhaust flap coming off, the whole aggressive low downforce direction, all of it only pays off if the track stays dry and the straights stay king. The current forecast for the Belgian Grand Prix does not promise that. It points to cooler temperatures and a real threat of rain across the weekend, the kind of unpredictable Ardennes weather that has decided this race more times than anyone can count. And rain changes the entire equation. If it pours, Ferrari faces an ugly choice. Run the low downforce weapon they built and risk a car that will not stick to a soaking track. Or bolt more wing back on, play it safe, and throw away the straight line edge they have chased for half a season. And the cruel part is the timing of the call. Teams have to commit to a wing level before they truly know what the weather will do, and Spa's sky can flip between the moment they lock the car in and the moment the race starts. Choose the low drag setup and get a wet race, and the car is a handful. Choose safety and get a dry one, and every rival with more nerve drives past on the straights. Ferrari has built a brilliant weapon, and the weather is holding the trigger. And there is a Saturday wrinkle that makes the weather even more loaded. At a track where overtaking gets desperately hard, once the spray comes up, where you qualify can decide where you finish. And a wet qualifying at Spa is precisely the kind of session that has produced the greatest laps of Hamilton's career. So the same rain that could force Ferrari to water down its car might also drop Hamilton into the exact conditions where he has always found something no one else could. And Spa does not do rain the way normal tracks do. This is the longest circuit in Formula One, 7.004 kilometers of it, 19 corners, run over 44 laps, and it is so long that it can be pouring at one end through the trees, while the start-finish straight sits bone dry under sunshine. Rain here is not a steady thing either. It arrives in bands that sweep across the forest, soaking one corner while the next is already drying, so the grip can change 3 times in a single lap. Drivers come flying over a blind crest at close to 300 kilometers per hour into a wall of standing water they never saw coming. It is the single hardest weather puzzle in the sport. Now add the tyre gamble on top. Pirelli is bringing its harder compounds for Belgium, and on a track that is drying in one sector and flooding in the next, the call between slick tyres and wets becomes a coin flip that decides the whole race. Pit one lap too early or one lap too late, and a winning weekend is gone. And the strategists making those calls are working half blind because of a detail that should worry every engineer in the pit lane. These are brand new cars, built to brand new rules for the 2026 season, and not one of them has run a proper, competitive, fully wet session yet. Nobody truly knows how this generation of machine behaves when the track turns to water at high speed, how the tyres switch on, how the cars aquaplane, where the limit even sits. Spa could very well be the first time the entire sport finds out together at the fastest and most dangerous circuit on the calendar. Spa in the wet also has a habit of producing either carnage or nothing at all. Just a few years ago the rain came and never stopped. The race was cut to a couple of laps crawling behind the safety car, half points handed out, no real racing, the shortest Grand Prix the sport has ever seen. That is the other face of a wet Ardennes. Sometimes it crowns a hero and sometimes it simply cancels the show. So think about what all of that does to Sunday. Every bit of horsepower and every clever wing matters less the moment the rain arrives. In the wet, the power advantages shrink, the straights stop being decisive, and the single biggest variable on the whole track becomes the person holding the wheel. It is the great equalizer. On a dry Sunday, Hamilton has to lean on Ferrari's engineers having got the package exactly right. On a wet one, the package fades into the background and the driver takes over, and that is a trade Hamilton has spent nearly 20 years proving he will take every time. He has done it in machinery that had no business winning, and he has done it in cars that were the class of the field. The common thread was never the car. It was the driver reading a wet track a beat faster than everyone around him. Which is the exact moment this stops being a story about a rear wing and becomes a story about the man Ferrari is putting all of this underneath. Because none of these upgrades would carry half their weight if the driver in that red car could not do something special when Spa turns wet. And this driver can. When it comes to this circuit, Lewis Hamilton does not just go well here, he owns the record books. Start with the number that sits under all of it. 6. 6 pole positions at Spa-Francorchamps. No driver in the entire history of Formula One has ever taken more poles at this circuit than Hamilton. Not Michael Schumacher, not Ayrton Senna. 6 is the outright Spa pole record, and it belongs to him. He has also won the Belgian Grand Prix 5 times, more than any driver still racing today, which leaves him sitting exactly 1 win behind the all-time record of 6, held by Schumacher himself. And here is why that record matters this weekend. Of all weekends, 2 of those 6 poles came on days when the rain fell and turned Spa into something almost nobody else could drive. 2013, qualifying descends into chaos as the rain sweeps across the circuit and Hamilton threads together a lap nobody can touch. Then 2018, the one they still talk about. A soaked track, the whole field crawling around searching for grip that is not there. And Hamilton pulls out a lap so far clear that it stops looking like qualifying and starts looking like a different sport. He edged his title rival Sebastian Vettel to pole by 0.726 of a second. In the wet, at Spa, that is not a gap. That is a different postcode. That is the thing about this man and water. Take him back to his very first year in the sport, a soaking Silverstone in 2008, where he won by over a minute, with 9 cars finishing a full lap down. Years later, in Turkey in 2020, on a track so slippery cars were sliding around at walking pace, he picked his way through the mess to seal a world championship. When the grip disappears, something about the way this man drives just does not. It is a reputation only a tiny handful of names in the entire history of the sport have ever earned. Spa has not always been kind to him though, and that is part of why this weekend carries the weight it does. Back in 2008, he crossed the line first in a rain-hit finish, only for a 25-second penalty for cutting the bus. Stop chicane to drop him to 3rd and hand the win to Felipe Massa. And more recently, this circuit has gone cold on the whole team. Ferrari has not won here since 2019, when Leclerc scored his first career victory, and the best the Scuderia has managed in the years since is 3rd place, over and over. The most successful driver in Spa history, sitting in a car that has stopped winning at Spa. That is the exact mountain this upgrade package is built to climb. And it all lands in the middle of a live championship fight, which is what turns this from a nice story into a genuinely huge weekend. Going into Spa, it is a Mercedes pair on top. Kimi Antonelli leads the championship on 179 points. George Russell is second on 154, and Hamilton is third on 147, just 7 points behind Russell and 32 behind a rookie, leading the standings in only his first full season. Do not overlook the battle inside Ferrari's own garage either. When Hamilton signed, plenty of people assumed this was Leclerc's team and Hamilton was the guest. The results have made that a lot less simple. Hamilton took Ferrari's breakthrough win of the year in Barcelona, the emotion of that day, telling you exactly how much the move has meant to him. And every upgrade, the team now brings lands on 2 cars driven by 2 men who both believe they can win this championship. Hamilton is chasing a record 8th world title, and Spa opens the final double-header before the sport shuts down for its month-long summer break. Whoever leaves the Ardennes with a strong result carries that momentum through August. Whoever leaves empty-handed sits with it for a month while the leaders rest easy. A win here, or even a podium salvaged in the wet, and the gap to the 2 Mercedes drivers ahead of him could shrink to almost nothing before the break. There is history sitting quietly on the line too. A 6th Belgian win would pull Hamilton level with Schumacher's all-time Spa record, at the very circuit where Schumacher built his legend, in the very brand the German defined an era in. That full-circle version of the story almost writes itself. So here is the real question hanging over the whole weekend. If Spa stays dry, does Ferrari's new low-drag weapon finally let Hamilton and Leclerc go wheel-to-wheel with Mercedes down the Kemmel Straight and change the shape of this title fight? Or if the rain comes, does the entire clever package get shelved, throwing the race wide open to the one driver who has turned a wet Spa into his personal stage more often than anyone alive? Either way, every road this weekend leads to the same place. A red car, a brand new package, a threatening sky, and a record book that already has Hamilton's name written all over this circuit. Spa has crowned him, and Spa has robbed him. This weekend, with the most ambitious Ferrari upgrade of the year underneath him and rain hanging over the forest, he goes back to find out which Spa shows up. Keep it locked here through the weekend, and if you want the full Ferrari and Hamilton story as it unfolds, subscribe now so the next chapter lands the moment it breaks.